Hello friends, I am Lakshmikant. Hope you all are fine, my dear. Dear, in this very topic, I am going to tell you about the mind map of living world, my dear. So see, here, whenever I am going to tell you about the mind map of living world, so this one is the first chapter of class 11th, unit 1, my dear. Clear? And this mind map is helpful for only those students who have just completed this one chapter thoroughly to NCERT. Yes or no? So if you have completed this chapter, so this one is very fruitful for you for the point of examination, my dear. Correct? Now, here that how we memorize, how we recall these all very things that is given in a mind map in such a way manner that it is very helpful to you to understand this one chapter very easily and conceptual, my dear. Right? Okay, now I'm going to here start the mind map of this living world and see that how I'm just giving you this very concept by breaking into many fragments in different slides, my dear. I'm not go through all thoroughly of this chapter because this one is only the mind map and this one is the only the recalling purpose that whatever you have read in this chapter. Am I right? So let's see the first that what we should have to be know about this living world. Here, if anybody can ask you about the living, what is living? From here we should have to be start. So where we should have to be start this one thing, my dear. So this one is the thing that what is living? Here the question, what is living, my dear? So first of all, we should have to be start from what is living? This one is the question. So if I'm saying here that what is living, it means that all the biochemical reactions which take place inside the living system. And you all know that a living system means what? A living system, it means that the livings being reproduce their progeny. Yes, cellular organization of the body is defining feature of life form. See what I'm saying here. The first here I'm saying all living beings reproduce their progeny. This one is correct? Yes, definitely. They all have what? Cellular organization. And this cellular organization is a defining feature of life forms. And third one here I'm writing what? All living organisms grow in size and number. Now the thing is here that if I'm saying here about this living, see how I am going to define here about the living. See, this one is the first point. This one is the first point, my dear, that how living beings reproduce their progeny. Suppose it means that they reproduce. It means here the point is what? Reproduction. So reproduction means what? Each and every living organisms give reproduce their young ones. Correct? And now this one is the what? This one is the second point. This one is what? Cellular organization. See, suppose if I'm saying here that about the cellular organization, so it means that what's the organisms which having what? A cell basis. So you all know that all the life originate from cell and the different cells unite together to form what, my dear? Tissue. And after that, they will form organ system level of formation. So see here that in cellular organization, the body is what defining feature. Here I'm writing what? Body is the what? Defining feature. See what I'm writing here? Defining features, my dear. Defining features of all life form, right? So whatever the life forms, my dear, that all very life forms having their what defining features, that very defining feature is known as what? Cellular organization. Definitely. And now this one is the third point, my dear, about the living, that all living organisms grow in size and number. Suppose if I'm saying here that the size, is there the size growth in a mountain is living? No. Is there size growth in a sand dune is living? No. Why? Tell me why? Because the growth is what? Extrinsic growth. So suppose see here the growth of two types. Here the growth is how many types, my dear? Two types. One is what, dear? Extrinsic growth. One is your extrinsic growth. Second one is, dear, what I'm saying here? intrinsic growth. See what I'm saying here, extrinsic growth. Suppose if I'm saying here about the extrinsic growth, it means what, the growth from outside, right? So if I'm saying the intrinsic growth, it means what, growth from inside. So see what the difference between the growth of living and non-living. You know what? Here the basic difference is that what, in a non-living the growth is only extrinsic is there, correct? But in a life, that we all have life, we all have the both growth, that is extrinsic growth as well as intrinsic growth. It means the growth of the organ also, organ system also. Yes or no? The growth of the whole cells also. So here the growth is both extrinsic and intrinsic growth. Correct? So see, here whenever I'm going to tell about the what a living world has what the basic thing is to be clear here, that all living beings what reproduce their progeny. Correct? Yes. This one is the first. Second, cellular organization. Body is defining as the feature of life forms, my dear. Here, all living organisms grow in size and number. Yes, or each and every living organisms grow in their size as well as in their number also, my dear. Correct? Is that clear? So what the growth is here? Two. One is extrinsic growth. Second one is what? Intrinsic growth, my dear. See, what about the all biochemical reaction? Yes, my dear. Yes, see this one. What is the living? Here I am the definition of this one, living. And this part, see, all biochemical reaction take place. So whatever the biochemical reaction take place within the living system, these all sum total known as what, biochemical reaction. Known as term, my dear, is know what, metabolisms. What I'm writing here, metabolism. So see here the term metabolisms. What I'm writing here, my dear, see this one is what, metabolism. Metabolism is what, sum total chemical reaction, sum of all total what, biochemical, see what I'm right, biochemical reaction. So see my dear, if I'm saying that the sum total of all biochemical reaction, then it is known as what, metabolisms. Yes, definitely. So metabolism is also a basic vital features of all life forms, my dear, right? Yes. So this one, the things that is also given in your NCERT, my dear. So here I put a point of that very NCERT that is given. Okay. So see, if we have to see the word diversity in the living world, because this one the first unit. So a diversity means what? Varieties. What I'm saying here, varieties of life forms. See what I'm saying here, varieties of life forms on earth. So that is known as what, diversity, my dear. So here in the diversity in the living world, what we see a different type of organisms, different having characteristics, and you know that it be characteristics in such a way that they differ from each others. Either you say the plants, insects, birds, your pets also, or other animals and plants also, they also have several organisms that you cannot see with our naked eyes, but they are all around you. Yes or no? So if we were to increase the area that you make the observation in the range and variety of organisms, that you would increase. So obviously, if you were to visit a dense forest, you will probably see a much greater number and kinds of living organisms. You know, whenever you visit uh, large diversity, my dear, then you see what different types of organisms be there. Yes or no? So each different kind of plants, animals, or organisms that you see represents a species, my dear. And the number of species that are known and described range between how much, 1.7 to 1.8 million species, my dear. So this refers what, this refers to what, biodiversity. So again I'm saying here about the diversity. So this biodiversity classified into two parts. That is, one is what, bio along with what, diversity. So here I am writing the diversity means what, varieties of life form. So if the life forms is what differed in our surrounding, known as what, biodiversity, my dear. So see, so this one is the main things, that the diversity in the living world. This one is thing, na, diversity in the living world. But before we have to be good this diversity in living world, my dear, so here the metabolisms further classified into how many parts, two parts, my dear. So see here that the metabolisms, what I'm writing here, metabolism. So this metabolism divided into first anabolism and second catabolisms, correct? This anabolism is which one process? You know what is anabolism? So the process which results in the synthesis of compound. So if I'm saying here that the synthesis of compound, it means here anabolism is what process? Is a formation process. Formation process. It means what? Formation process means what? It means that what here the what macromolecules. See what I'm saying here. Here the macromolecules can be formed by uniting of small molecules. It means that so many what amino acid to form what protein, my dear. Amino acid is simplest, and so many amino acid to form what a protein is known as what anabolisms. But whenever I'm saying the catabolism, dear, that is what this one is breakdown process. This one is what, my dear? Breakdown process. So see, if I'm saying here the breakdown process, it means what? The process which result in breaking down of a compound. So here in a catabolisms, the complex cheese, complex substance, my dear, broken into smaller, then after smaller, then after smaller. This one thing. This one is catabolisms, and this one is the vice versa. This smallest combined together to form what? Complex. Complex and more complex, my dear. So this one is what? Anabolism. So here the formation from simple to complex, and here the complex to what? Simple. And here is what? Simple. Simple to what? Simple to complex. So this one is the basic difference between catabolisms and anabolisms, my dear. Now the thing is here. Now the thing is here what? So if this one thing is clear, anabolisms and catabolism is clear, then the in the diversity of living world, what we should have to be know, my dear. So here in diversity in the living world, here we know the term biodiversity. See here the biodiversity. So here the term biodiversity refer to as variety of living organisms. See in the previous slide, here also I mentioned the word varieties of life. See, varieties of life. If anybody can ask you how many million of species right now that we have studies, that is 1.7 to 1.8 million species. And you know how many total number of species? Approx, my dear, 8 to 10 million species, my dear. So out of 8 to 10 million species, only 1.7 to 1.8 million species where we have studied. So that's why I'm saying to you. Okay, so let's see about the things, that is what is biodiversity. So see here the term biodiversity, what I'm saying, wait for a moment. What I'm saying, the term used to refers the varieties of living organisms, and this variety of living organisms found in geographical area. So whatever the area we live, that area is known as what? Geographical area. So see what I'm saying here, geographical area. What I'm saying here, geographical area. So if I'm saying here the geographical area, it means what? The area where the living organisms find. So that very area is known as what, my dear? Geographical area. In geographical area, different varieties of life on earth, my dear. So after that, about the taxonomy, as we already know that taxonomy is what? Taxonomy is what? It is the branch of biology. What I'm writing? It is the what? I'm saying branch of biology in which we deals, in which we, what I'm saying here, in which we deals. See what we deals here. Number one, identification, classification, and third one is what? Nomenclature. So this one is the thing that is given in taxonomy, and this taxonomy, the father, you know the father of taxonomy? Whom? The father of taxonomy? Please give answer in comment. Father of taxonomy, my dear. See what I'm writing here. Father of taxonomy, that is Carlos Linnaeus. What I'm saying? Carolus Linnaeus, my dear. See, so if anybody can ask you about the father of taxonomy, then what you say? The father of taxonomy is Carolus Linnaeus, my dear. So according to the Carolus Linnaeus, taxonomy is the word branch in which we deals the what biology in what way? The first identification, then after what then after classification and what nomenclature, my dear. So see, this one thing is also written in NCERT also, my dear. Here, to standardize the naming of living organisms, such a particular organisms is known by same name all over the world, because whenever we go to know the names, that all very names is what known by others, and similar names, vernaculars name, common name is be there is not accurate method to be study that very organisms. So that's why we have to be put a scientific name here. That very scientific name, this very process in which we give a scientific name to the particular organisms is known as what? Nomenclature. So if anybody can ask you about the nomenclature, then what you say? Nothing. That is so simple. Nomenclature, it means that giving scientific name to the particular organisms. After that, obviously, the nomenclature or naming is only possible when the organisms is described correctly and we know what organisms the name is attached to. So first of all, we should have to be what? We should have to be described correctly. If we haven't any correctly described about the any organisms, then how it possible to give the nomenclature, right? Then after this one is the identification, which is very, very important, my dear. To see here in a taxonomy, first the identification, then after the classification, then after the biological nomenclature, my dear. So before we have to be go through the binomial nomenclature, here the things is to be clear about the first we have to be observed. The taxonomy is what? Identification, give identity to those very particular organisms. Then after we classify a grouping of all the organisms, and then after we have to what? Giving a scientific name to that very organisms, right? Correct. So if I am giving to the scientific name of that very organisms, there here must to be know about the what? The binomial nomenclature. So by means what? To. Nomen means what? Giving name to which one? Living organisms. So that's why I'm saying here the binomial nomenclature. See here, according to the ICBN and ICZN, you know the full form of ICBN? Let's see. ICBN, International. Whatever the thing I'm telling here, the same thing is NCERT is also. So see the clip also. That is the clip also mentioned here. Okay. So International Code of Botanical. What I'm saying? Botanical nomenclature, my dear. Botanical nomenclature. But what about the term ICZN? ICZN. What the term ICZN here? International. And what I'm saying? International Code of, what I'm saying, dear, Zoological nomenclature. See what I'm saying? Zoological nomenclature. So see here that once I'm saying here what ICBN and other one I'm saying what ICZN, that is International. Wait a moment. International Code of Zoological Nomenclature. See here, whenever I'm going to say here that ICBN and ICZN, it means what? Here the means that ICBN, International Code of Botanical Nomenclature, and whenever I'm saying to go what ICZN, that is what? International Code of Zoological Nomenclature. So see, if the thing is to be clear here that ICBN and ICZN is nothing, just it is an organization where he just make a clear concept over that how we give the scientific name to any particular organisms, my dear. Correct? Correct. So according to the NCERT, let me see here that ICZN and ICBN, what the details is given here. Okay, so generally in Latin and written in italics. This one is the rule, my dear. Second, the first component is what? Genus with the capital letter. This one is the second rule. Second component is specific or specific epithet, which is a small letter. When handwritten, the names are what? Underlined, my dear. Yes, this one is very important to know here. Yes, see, International Code of Biological Nomenclature, ICBN, that is International Code of what? Biological Nomenclature. In biological nomenclature, that is what? International Code of Zoological Nomenclature, and as well as Botanical Nomenclature, you also say, my dear. So let's see here. According to the NCERT, the biologists all over the world for plant scientific names agreed principles and criteria which are provided in International Code for Botanical Nomenclature. See, this one is written here or not? How our animals are named? Animal taxonomists have evolved International Code of Zoological Nomenclature. See, these all things is given in your NCERT also, my dear. So that's why I'm making a clip over this one thing. So what I am doing here, I am doing here only the short concept that is given in your NCERT, whatever the mind map there, here is only very short concept, my dear. Okay, now description of any organism should enable the people in any part of the world arrive at the same name. So they also ensure that such a name has not been used for any other known organisms. Correct? No. See, suppose this one thing is also to be clear from my side. Yes or no? Yes or no? This one thing is clear. Now the thing is here, classification. What the need of classification, my dear? So now I'm going to know here what the need of classification. You know, need of classification is why is important, my dear? See, if I'm saying here the need of classification, see, this one is the line. This one is the paragraph that is given here from mind map. Here the need of classification. Clear? So here the need of classification, it means what? It means here that it makes the identification of the organisms very clear and easy. So without classification, is it important? Is it easy to go through that very organisms? No, my dear, that is not easy to go through that very organisms. So first of all, we should must have to be get a clear here that whenever we have to be classified, then what the need of classification, my dear, here it needs to what it's make identification of organisms very clear and easy. Number one point. Second point, that is what it is study of organisms become convenient. So whenever we go to study the any organisms, then here it must be easy to understand that very things. Okay, now the third point is what? Evolutionary trends. Evolutionary trends. Here, the term evolution. That is very important to know. That is what? Slow. What I'm writing here, continuous, slow, continuous, and irreversible change. What I'm saying here? Irreversible change in our surrounding. Change in our, what I'm saying dear, change in our surrounding. I am saying change in our surrounding is known as what, my dear? Evolution. Correct? The slow, continuous, and irreversible change in our surrounding is known as evolution. So according to the evolutionary trends, can be easily understood. How this easily can be understood? Whenever we classify the organisms. So there are three basic points here that is need for classification, my dear, that it makes the identification of organisms very clear and easy. Study of organisms become convenient. Evolutionary trends can be easily understood. So now, what the basic unit of classification here? So before we have to be go that very things, basic need of classification, my dear. So see, this one is the thing is clear. This one thing is clear. Need, that need is clear. Now I'm going to move ahead. The basic concept. So what the living world having the basic concept, my dear? It's basic is what unit of classification. So see here what I'm going to tell here. Here the concept of a species, that is what it is the basic unit of classification. Why I'm saying here this one thing? Because in the living world there is a concept of a species. What the concept of a species? It is a basic unit of what? Classification. Correct? What the need of classification? This term is clear. Okay, my dear. Now the thing is to be going to be move what? That the taxonomic categories, my dear. So what the taxonomic categories is here? This one is very important to know. Here I'm going to tell you about some basic taxonomic categories. This one is the point. You know that whenever we make a hierarchy, you know the hierarchy, my dear. You know the term hierarchy? Hierarchy means what? Grouping of organisms on their basic criteria. That is called hierarchy. The lowest taxonomy, that is what? Is species. See what I'm writing here? Is species. Group of species to form what? Genus. Group of genus to form what? Family. And group of family to form what? Order. And group of order to form what? Class. And group of class to form what, my dear? Phylum. And group of this phylum to form what? Yes, correct, my dear. That is kingdom. And this group of kingdom to form what? Super kingdom. So this one is not need to know here. This is not need to know here, my dear. Super kingdom, correct? So these all are what the classification, my dear. So see what I'm saying here. I'm saying here about the word, the taxonomic categories. So here the taxonomic categories are how much? This one is the hierarchy of the classification. That is species, the genus, then after family, then after order, then class and phylum and etc. Right? So now see, before we have to be move ahead, here we should must have to be keep in mind that the things that is very, very important to know about each and everything, that is a species, genus, family, order, class. So how this one is things to be there when we go through in details in chapter, my dear, then I will told you about these all things. Okay. But the things in taxonomic categories, what are there? That the things is to be mentioned here. Okay. So now the point is here to be go through the taxonomy and systematic. So see, so before we have to be know this one thing, taxonomic and systematic. So taxonomy is clear term. Now I'm going to write here. Wait for a moment. Wait for a moment, my dear. I'm going to tell you about this one thing. Okay, wait for a moment. Here, I'm going to tell you about the taxonomy. Here, the term taxonomy, you know what I'm saying here? Taxonomy. So see, taxonomy is what? It is the branch of biology. It is what I'm saying. It is the what? Branch of what I'm saying? Biology, in which we deals the organism, what I'm saying, on the basis of three things, on the basis of identification, then after classification, and what? Nomenclature. What I'm saying? Nomenclature. So why we do this? Because we have to study the organisms in a systematic manner. So there is must be need of taxonomy, my dear. And again, I'm telling, so the father of taxonomy, this one is important point to know here. Father of taxonomy, whom? Tell me. Carlos Linnaeus. What I'm saying? Carlos Linnaeus, my dear, is the father of taxonomy, correct? So see here, what I'm going to tell you. So taxonomy is nothing. It is the study of organisms on the basis of their characteristics. So if I'm going to say here that the basic of characteristics, it means what? It means what? It means that the things that is very, very important to know, my dear, that is what? That is taxonomy. That is a branch. Okay. So see, if I'm going to tell you about the systematic, so again see what the meaning of the systematic, my dear. Systematic derived from word systema, Latin words, which means what? Grouping of organisms. So systematic is the branch of biology involving the study of diversity. So see what I'm saying here. Here I'm saying here that if I'm going to tell you about the word diversity, means what? Variety of living organisms and all their comparative and evolutionary, see what I'm saying here, evolutionary relationship. So evolution term is clear. So slow, continuous and irreversible change in our surrounding is known as what? Evolution, my dear, right? So whatever the evolutionary relationship as well as the diversity of living organisms, we should have to be make a comparative distinctions between that all very things. So where we should have to be know these things, we need to be know here in a what? Taxonomy, my dear. So that's why I'm writing here the term. That's why I'm writing here the term what? That is what? Taxonomy. Clear? Is that clear? The concept is clear. Now, next thing that is very important. This one is very, very VVI. what I'm writing here, this is very, very important to know, my dear. What is taxonomical aids? So this one is the quick revision. In taxonomical aid, there are something that is very important. And this whole definition is very, very clear to all of you. Number one, that is what? Herbarium. Number two, botanical garden. Number third, museum. Number fourth, zoological park. Number fourth, key. And number five, manuals. Correct? So these all are very important to know here. So let's see what these all are five things in a taxonomical aid. And this one is the very important to know, my dear. Let's see one by one. One is what? That is herbarium. Suppose if I'm saying about the herbarium means what? The place where plant species samples are derived from preservation, my dear. So see what I'm saying here. I'm saying here that the place where the plant species samples are derived for preservation. Suppose if I am placing what apple leaves, so what we should have to do, we should have to be samples, and then after we take a sample and dry it for preservation. For why the preservation is need here? Here the preservation is need here. You know why? Because to know that very features in future also. This is known as what? Herbarium. Herbarium seat is be there. What do you mean by the botanical garden? So specialized gardens having collections. You know the meaning of collections, where we have to collect different things of living plants for references and identification purposes, my dear. Now see, what about the museum, my dear? See, museum is what? The place where dead plants and animals are preserved. Whenever we visit museum, if in the museum nearby you, then you go museum and you see there that what the dead plants and animals which is preserved for study and references, my dear. So that is known as what? Museum. What about the zoological park? Let's see. The places where wild animals are kept in a protected environment. See what I'm saying? So if I'm keeping the wild animals in a protected environment, known as what? Zoological park. Under human care, my dear. See what I'm saying? Under human care. Now, the thing that is what key. This one is the second thing. Second last thing. Key is the what? It is a device used to identify each species. So if I have to be identify the living organisms, so how we identify, my dear? So we can identify the living organisms with the help of which one thing? That is what? A group of organisms based the similarities and dissimilarities. So if we identify any of the living organisms, so here must we have to be what? Know the similarities and dissimilarities of the living organisms. Correct? Now, the last point, not the list. That is what? About the manuals. Fifth point. So the historical data. See what I'm saying here, historical data. It means what? The data about the flora and fauna. Flora means plant, fauna means animal of a particular geographical location. So if I visit any particular geographical location, it means that there is a particular geographical location where we have to show the different historical data. And this one data we have to be studied there, that is flora and fauna of any particular areas, right? Okay, so these all things is given in what? A living world, my dear. Hope so this thing is clear. This mind map is clear. Yes or no? So if thing is clear, my dear, if mind map is clear, go through these all the things, all these things, and this one is very important for you, and this one is only for those students who have completed this chapter thoroughly, my dear. So this one is only the mind map that what I am given here. Okay. So thank you for watching me. Thank you. Have a nice day. Take care, my dear.